You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Welcome to Knightline at Night on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Night Nation's only call-in show goes live now.
All right, hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley, and we're live from the Dever Team Studios, brought to you by Chad Barlaw, assisting veterans, injured veterans, get the help they deserve. Give Chad a call, 407-599-9036, or visit protectingvets.com. You can also call Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach real estate needs, 386-690-1636. But we're taking your calls as well. 844-580-9326, 844-580-9326, or you can use the open mic feature in the WDBO app. Once again, I'm Andrew Phegley, AP_Knightline on Twitter. I got Big Ben Stout here with me at Big Social 32 on Twitter, and Roger Phipps at Night Bengal on Twitter. And you can find all the rest of our content on KnightlineSports.com. I almost forgot the name of my own website.
Wow. You got it. You made it.
That was pretty good. All right. Well, welcome. We're talking UCF sports, obviously. It's in the name, Knightline at Night. So I guess the biggest thing would be to start talking about the NFL draft. The Knights did pretty well with five picks coming out of UCF, and that school to the west of us, 0, by the way.
Womp womp.
Womp, womp,
Hasn't
womp.
had anyone drafted in 3 years consecutively.
Wow. No, well, 5 was the record for us, and that's great. 5 guys. Let's start with now what's his name? Richie Grant. Sorry, I'm playing. Richie Grant, second round, 40th pick overall to the Atlanta Falcons, followed by Aaron Robinson, third round, 71st overall to the New York Giants. And then it gets a little different. Fourth round, Jacob Harris, 141st. 6th round, Tay Gowan, 223rd, and then Trey Nixon, 7th round, 242 to the New England Patriots. Did I say Arizona Cardinals for Tay Gowan and Jacob Harris, the Los Angeles Rams, and then Trey Nixon, New England Patriots. So good for those guys. And then Marlon Williams also signed under a free agent deal with the Houston Texans, I believe. So good, great class. I mean, a couple surprises there. I think we were all pretty much expecting Richie Grant to be picked pretty high. I think I said in a hot take at some point that I thought he would go in the first round. He was only 8 picks outside of the first round. So not bad for that. Aaron Robinson definitely fell quite a bit more than we thought that he would. We thought that he would be up there as well. And then Jacob Harris was probably the surprise of the whole thing, going in the 4th round, 141st.
Yeah, he definitely skyrocketed after that awesome pro day that he put together. I mean, his measurables are just off the chart. And hopefully he can really develop his ability to catch the football, which is important, whether you're a tight end or a wide receiver in the NFL. And he's in a great situation there, Jacob Harris is, with the Rams. That's a pretty dynamic offense as the NFL standards go. And so hopefully they'll be able to utilize him at first at special teams as what they seem to be pretty excited about with the post-draft buzz. But then certainly, hopefully, he gets in there in the offense and does some good things. We'll see what happens with Jacob Harris, but he definitely jumped up the draft boards after the season with that great pro day he had.
All right, Roger.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what else can you say about Jacob Harris, other than hard work pays off. I mean, this was the guy that was started his Division I career in Florida Gulf Coast University as a soccer player, went to Western Kentucky, came to UCF, and made the most of his opportunities. So this is, it's as good of a feel-good story as you can get for someone who works really, really hard. The blocking, the little things, the special teams, as you mentioned, Ben, that's really what got him noticed. And then he got that pro day bump. It's a real thing. Some people get a pro day bump. Unfortunately, some of the players we love had a pro day slump. So it was certainly interesting to watch him. I was not expecting him in the fourth round. Honestly, I expected him a little bit later but good for him. He's got a great deal. He's going to make some money off of his hard work. So congratulations to him.
Absolutely. Well, the guy that's really going to make the money, Richie Grant,
for sure,
the second round 40th pick. That's one of the higher picks that we've had as corners coming, or safeties, defensive backs, coming from UCF into the NFL. Mike Hughes in 2018 was in the first round 30th. And I believe that was the highest pick of the defensive backs. And then Richie Grant would be the second highest. So
that's right. There's only one other player I think that was ever taken in the second round. That's Travis Fisher, who we don't even much remember in 2002 draft. So yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the second highest overall. That's awesome for Richie. He deserves it.
Yeah, and I could go down the list here. Shaquille Griffin, third round, 90th. We can, how well he's doing. He's moved to a different team now, a Pro Bowler. Camille Ishmael, seventh round, 243rd. Josh Robinson, third round, 66. Asante Samuel, fourth round, 120th. So there's Clayton Geathers, fourth round, 109th. So there's, guys out there that have made excellent NFL careers and, didn't get nearly picked as high as Richie Grant. Mike Hughes, I think there's some news that I've heard, and I don't know if it's totally true. I've heard the Minnesota Vikings are not going to pick up his fifth year, but he still is under contract for this year. I think he's already been informed, though, that they will not pick him up. Probably, anyway.
Yeah, I read that as well, and it's unfortunate because, man, what a talent, and unfortunately injuries have kind of cut his snaps short. And when the NFL looks around, there's a lot of talent out in the league. I think the stat was somewhere 24 out of 48 games he played. And when they make that kind of investment in you, if you only play 24 games, that's going to hurt when you're looking at long-term contracts.
Absolutely. All right, going back to Jacob Harris a little bit and how big of a pick that was in the fourth round, 141st. Gabe Davis was also picked fourth round, 128th. So Brandon Marshall also was picked fourth round, 119th. So if you put those guys in the same, grounds, I guess, that's pretty two good names that were both picked in the fourth round as well as wide receivers from UCF. Traquan Smith, third round, 91st when he was picked in 2018. We've seen what Gabe Davis did, though. Rashad Perryman is on the top of that list in 2015, also been really, really hurt by injuries. First round, he was 26th overall. So Mike Sims Walker, third, 79th. Who else here? Bernard Ford in 1988, third round, 65th overall. So go ahead.
I was just going to say those two groups that you mentioned, right? I mean, you mentioned some great defensive backs, multiple time Super Bowl champion, Asante Samuel, and some other great backs, Shaquille Griffin, Pro Bowler. There's a lot of runway ahead of some of the other guys that have been picked up. I mean, great defensive backs coming out of UCF, and certainly great receivers, great NFL receivers as well. Gabe Davis had a heck of a rookie season. I mean, even going back to 2003 with Doug Gabriel, he had some great seasons with the Raiders. And obviously Brandon Marshall, Mike Sims Walker. I mean, these are all really good NFL careers. So it's like we're DBU and wide receiver U when it comes to the draft. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a wide range of names there, varying in different rounds. But if you look at the guys that have gone, first round through fourth round, those are the guys that have really shown up. So over the years, so they have a better opportunity, obviously, to play, rather than the guys that are in the sixth and seventh round.
That's one of the challenges when you get down that low is, the NFL teams have to do guaranteed money for these higher level picks. So like Richie Grant, for example, he got $8.2 million as his guarantee, and then another $3.3 million as a signing bonus. So if you look at investing $12 million in someone, you get a little bit more runway than you do if you're round 7 Trey Nixon, who, he did get a decent deal and he did get drafted. But the reality is he's going to have to fight his way onto a roster. Whereas someone like Richie Grant, because of the investment, the NFL is going to allow him a little more runway to be able to, flourish in his role.
Yeah, and I've already heard grumblings out of Atlanta that they're going to build a defense around him. He's one of the guys that they want to build around. They think that highly of him, that they want to actually build the defense around him, in the backfield anyway, the defensive backs. We all know how he can play. I can't wait to see the NFL see the job that he can do back there. And I mean, I would expect to see him right away in that defense, especially because they haven't been the greatest. They were horrible last year.
For sure.
Especially against the pass.
Yeah, I mean, he was a special player at UCF. I mean, we talked about him week in and week out of just how much we enjoyed watching him play, just the way he plays the game. And then I agree with you 100%, Andrew. I mean, I think he's going to bring that type of caliber of player and leader to that defense there in Atlanta. As long as twice a year when my Bucks go against him, he doesn't make too many big plays, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah. Well, they were comparing him to some pretty big players the other night on the draft when they were talking about him when he got picked. One of them was Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. Well. And me being a Chiefs fan and also being very aware of him in college as well, that guy is a very stout, hard hitter, smart guy, knows where the ball is at all times. So for Richie Grant to be in the same, sentence as Tyrann Mathieu, I think that's absolutely huge. And that made me really happy to hear that.
Yeah, I was excited to see that too, because it just seemed, he's such an explosive player, the Honey Badger, and such a smart player. So when I first saw that, I was like, you know what, that does make sense. Richie Grant is that type of player. So hopefully he can continue to develop and grow and be that type of player in the NFL.
Well, and the reason he was called the Honey Badger is because he's so aggressive, right? And that really, having had the pleasure of watching Richie play for UCF, one of the major things that I always took away was not only was he playing aggressively when he was playing in the high safety, but when he was coming down, he was the guy that you saw in the blitz packages coming from different areas, and he was always the guy getting into the backfield and either getting pressure or laying a lick on somebody. So he's good against the run. He's good at getting pressure on quarterbacks, and that's a big reason why you heard Andrew say that Atlanta said they could build around him, because he can play both sides of the field and he can make your defensive line better. So watching a guy like that, seeing him flourish, getting the opportunity to build people around what's essentially the quarterback of the defensive backs, that's going to be something to watch. And it's a reason why I will watch Falcons games, because otherwise I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't either necessarily, but I'm going to now. I'm a big Richie Grant fan. He's been one of my favorite players here. I played safety in college. Obviously, he's a safety. The safeties, honestly, have been some of my favorite players over the years. The hard-hitting guys like Atwater and Ronnie Lott and, guys like that. Just Woodson even. Just guys that are gritty football players that go out there and can put a hit on somebody and make them drop the ball, or sneak their themselves in there and get under a ball and get an interception. We've seen that a million times, not a million, but we've seen him. What is it? We've seen him 10 times, I believe it is, get interceptions, 10 career interceptions, 291 tackles in his career at UCF. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. We'll be right back on Knightline at Night.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices Altamont Springs.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com.
And now, back to Knightline at Night on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Call now at 844-580-9326.
All right, back on Knightline at Night. This is Andrew Phegley. We're live from the Dever Team Studios, brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Talking UCF sports. We were just talking the NFL draft and our picks from UCF: Richie Grant, Aaron Robinson, Jacob Harris, Tay Gowan, Trey Nixon. All those guys went to teams within the draft. Second round for Richie Grant, third round for Aaron Robinson, fourth round for Jacob Harris, sixth round for Tay Gowan, and Trey Nixon's seventh round. It's interesting the way that they show it on NFL.com, if you look, because we were going like Richie Grant got the 40th pick overall. So the way that they show it on here, he was the 8th pick of the second round. Aaron Robinson was the seventh pick of the third round. Jacob Harris was the 36th pick of the fourth round. Tay Gowan was the 39th pick of the sixth round, and Trey Nixon was the 15th pick of the seventh round, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting to see 39th pick in the sixth round. You know, they have a lot of those like extra picks in the later rounds where it's not just 32 and then you move on to the next team. So yeah,
there's compulsory picks or whatever,
compensatory or whatever they call it. Yeah, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad. I'm even glad that Trey Nixon got drafted there. You know, towards the end of the draft overall. I mean, I know that there's kind of a back and forth of, you know, whether or not it's better to kind of have your options wide open. But, I mean, it is still a draft pick spent by the team. So whether they don't have to make the financial commitment to that player and certainly don't have to commit to him making the team, but they did spend the time during the draft to make that pick. And so hopefully Trey Nixon can get into the Patriots camp and you know, do well enough to make the team. I'm sure on special teams at first, but regardless, hopefully he can do some good things there, and if not, you know, be picked up by another team pretty quickly if for some reason he falls short. But hopefully he can do that.
And I've been critical of Trey Nixon over the years. I've said I don't know how many times that I thought he was lazy. He's one of those guys that you normally don't see diving for the ball. Every once in a while you'll see it, but a lot of times it just seemed like, you know, he was kind of there and, you know, caught touchdowns and all that stuff. But there were plays that he took off, I think. He's not going to be able to do that as a seventh round pick.
Yeah, I think he had, just real quick, I think he had a bit of a, kind of a comparison deficit with always the players that he was lined up across from, in the sense that he played with guys that were just, like, for lack of a better word, just dogs. Like, I mean, Gabe Davis, Marlon Williams, I mean, these are guys that would go up and get anything. And so I think him being a little bit more of a finesse player, he at times looked like a little bit less than. And then you just don't know towards the end of his career with those injuries whether or not he could have developed into a player like that.
And he technically had another year as well if he wanted it. All these guys did.
True.
He's one, especially because he was hurt pretty much all season. I think he played in 2 games last season. He definitely would have had a medical red shirt, so he could have come out of that pretty easy. So it would have been, he probably could have done a little bit better in the draft if that had happened. You never know, though. We've seen guys that you think are going to be barn burners out there, and they go into the draft and they don't do well. We thought Marlon Williams, of course, because he had the great year that he had last year, led the wide receivers in the NCAA almost all season last season, and didn't get picked at all. Had a really, really bad pro day, which really hurt him. Luckily, he did get picked up as a free agent by the Houston Texans, so we'll see what he gets to do out there. Aaron Robinson, Jacob Harris, Tay Gowan as well. We'll talk about them when we get back here from a little break. It's going to be pretty quick here. So, we'll do that. Anything else real quick, guys?
Just wanted to say, despite Marlon being an undrafted free agent, he is reportedly making $2.3 million on his deal. So it still pays, and they make great memories from this draft. So congratulations.
Absolutely. Sometimes those deals work out better for players anyway than being drafted in the 7th round. Sometimes, especially if you're signed like immediately to a free agent deal. All right, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back on Knightline at Night. If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company, and they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats, Tex-Mex for everyone.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Welcome. This is a promo for the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast, new to the Knightline Sports Network. You should listen to it. I say things like this. We need to stop blaming Jerry because we would do the exact same thing if we owned the Dallas freaking Cowboys. Do you know how much fun it is to own the Dallas Cowboys? My guests will say things sometimes like this.
It's the Lord of the Flies thing that happens when they don't understand that things are wrong, spoiler alert, until Piggy dies.
Lord of the Flies has been out for like 100 years. I don't even know. Sorry to everyone at home who I spoiled the book for. A book's been out for like 90 years or something. And sometimes, rarely though, I'll say really stupid things like this. If they don't make it out of the West and the Raptors get to the finals, I will go on either this show or whoever's show and say that Kawhi Leonard is overrated because I have too much evidence of it. New episodes drop every Friday with me and some of my good friends right here on the Knightline Sports Network.
And now, back to Knightline at Night on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Call now at 844-580-9326.
Okay, Knightline at Night. I'm Andrew Phegley, brought to you by Chad Barlaw. We're live from the Dever Team Studios, brought to you by Chad Barlaw, though. Assisting injured veterans to get the help they deserve. Give Chad a call, 407-599-9036, or visit protectingvets.com. You can call Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach real estate needs, 386-690-1636. We're taking your calls, though, at 844-580-WDBO, 844-580-9326. Or you can use the open mic feature on the WDBO app. Once again, I'm Andrew Phegley, AP_Knightline on Twitter. Got Big Ben Stout here with me at BigSocial32 on Twitter. Roger Phipps as well is along for the ride at Night Bengal on Twitter, and you can find all the rest of our content on nightlinesports.com. We are talking UCF sports. If you didn't join us for the first part of the show, we've been talking about the NFL draft pretty much the entire time. Richie Grant taken in the second round, Aaron Robinson the third round, Jacob Harris the fourth, Tay Gowan in the sixth, and Trey Nixon in the seventh. Also, Marlon Williams signing a free agent deal with the Houston Texans. So, 6 players from last year's UCF team in the NFL now. 5 players drafted, which is a record for UCF. That other team across Florida on the other side over there that has their direction mixed up a little bit, they had 0 again. So I'm happy that in itself, I'm glad that UCF did good, but I am so glad, even more glad that USF did not have any personally.
Well, yeah. I can tell you this. I mean, to your point, Andrew, it only elevates UCF. You mentioned DBU and that whole mystique and the wide receiver U. With Gus Malzahn coming on board, I mean, he's brought so much energy and the recruiting aspects of everything. It can't hurt to have 5 draft picks in the draft. And to kind of put it in perspective, in the last 5 drafts, rounds 1 through 4, UF had 21 picks, FSU 11, Miami 10, UCF 9. So that's in the last 5 years. We're closing the gap. And then having Gus Malzahn in the building, that's got to help him out.
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's huge in recruiting too.
Yeah, I heard some other stuff as far as that went with the guys coming out of UCF and numbers being compared. I can't find the graphic now. Of course, when I start to talk about something, I can never find the graphic that I want to find, so I'm going to have to look it up on Twitter or something. But comparatively with those schools this year, we did pretty well. You can't say that coming to UCF, you're not going to get in the NFL, because that's absolutely not true. You will get to the NFL if you do the stuff right. So 47 players overall from UCF have been drafted since 1987. At least one player drafted in the last 15 of the last 16 drafts. 26 players drafted since 2008, 33 players since 2003. So,
and think about the type of player that we're getting, and we will continue to grow in this aspect with the recruiting and the style of recruiting and kind of the prestige that Gus Malzahn is bringing to our program. So we'll continue to grow in this. But I mean, we had a 6-4. By all accounts, by most UCF fans, and really all accounts, a relatively disappointing season last year. Albeit a lot of starts, a lot of COVID-related things going on there, and a weird year, but still 6-4, and we broke the record. We had the most players drafted from that team. So, that broke the record from the 2017 team, the 2018 team. I mean, these are teams that went undefeated, and we had the most in this year's draft, and I anticipate that continuing to grow as we move forward with Gus Malzahn. It was also, I'll quickly say, it was really cool to see our current coaching staff, celebrating not only the UCF picks, of course, but celebrating those guys that they invested so much in the Auburn players that got drafted as well. I mean, we saw Travis Williams, right there sitting next to a draft pick. His name escapes me right now, but he's a guy who went in the second or third round. Seeing Travis Williams sitting right next to him, a guy that he invested in a lot of time in as a linebacker, him getting drafted and being like the second or third guy that player hugged was Travis Williams. So it's just kind of cool to see how involved and how much these players mean to this coaching staff.
Well, yeah, and that's something that we can get into. I just think that this staff is going to make these things even better.
No doubt.
At UCF, and this staff is something different than we've had here before. We have a coach that is a seasoned SEC coach, coming into the American, and it's a little bit different. It is a little bit different than the SEC. You got to fight and claw a little bit more here, I believe, than the blue blood programs have to get what you're looking for, to get noticed, to get the players that you want to come to your team. But with a guy with the experience, from the high school ranks all the way up to the top of the pinnacle of college football, Gus Malzahn has done it all. So, I mean, we have a guy that is, been far superior, to some of these other guys. And a guy with experience. The last couple of years, coaches that we've had haven't had any head coaching experience before. I mean, at all that I know of. Maybe a high school or something, but probably not even that, because they were players and they went right into coaching. Another thing that we could talk about here, there's this thing a couple of years ago we were saying we were wide receiver U. Now we're saying we're defensive back U, DBU.
Right.
We're very close there. So 12 wide receivers have been drafted since 12 wide receivers have been drafted overall from UCF. Now 13 defensive backs have. So the defensive backs lead the score by one. So I guess we're DBU until that changes.
Well, I mean, if you go I was just going to quickly say, if you're going to go name for name on that list, I mean, it's really hard to say which grouping is kind of superior there just by the talent on both sides of that list there. So go ahead, Roger. I'm sorry to cut you off there.
That's all right. I was just going to, say a couple things to Andrew's point. I mean, one, there were approximately 6,500 Division I football players that played football last year. Okay. You have someone who was drafted number 40 in that draft. That's 0.0068%. The quality of football and player that we're attracting is so much at a higher level. Our expectations have been going up slowly. We've been saying, hey, this hasn't been meeting our expectations. Now you're starting to see recruiting take off. So to Andrew's point, you have a combination of better players that are getting our brand out there. You've got someone like Gus Malzahn who can take advantage of the recruiting. And he's already doing that, because what you're seeing is the folks that are coming in and the transfers are coming in. We're starting to see the transfers going out. So some of these folks are people that transferred in last year. We had a couple of freshman tight ends. We had 6 tight ends. We had 2 that just left, Tony Forrest and Nathan Borboom, which we talked about here and we were excited about. It all feeds on each other. So when you have a combination of a positive draft, great players, better exposure, which is college football college football New Year's Six games, and then you're starting to see the machine work. And if you pay attention, you're seeing that recruiting level and expectations start to match, and what we expected after the 14 season, the 17 season, the 18 season, it's that we're finally starting to get our wind at our sails. So I expect way more success going forward.
Absolutely. Richie Grant's quite a story too, coming in as like a 2-star. Nobody thought that he would come to be what he is. And boy, has he. Absolutely incredible. One of my favorite players, maybe of all time at UCF, in my all time. You guys have been around a little longer than I have, but
hard-nosed player, leader, all of those traits that you want to see in a player. And think about who we've had drafted recently high. They're the hard-nosed guys that put in the extra effort, that were the leaders of the team, that were the energy guys. I mean, you think about Shaquem and Shaquille. Look at what Shaquem did in order to make his name to get drafted. I mean, not only is it a story of him overcoming his physical challenges, but this was the guy who in that 2017 season was sleeping in our practice facility in order to get more tape in. Yep. The guys that you're seeing are successful are the guys with the passion, the leadership, and the guys that are willing to put in the extra effort. And I absolutely love watching these guys grow.
Well, and you can make the argument there as well. We haven't attracted the 4 and 5 star players like some of the other schools have. We're starting to get more of them, but we've said for a long time we can take whatever stars and make a football player out of them. That's no what doubt. UCF has always been good at since I've been around anyway, is taking guys that were underrated and making them, better players in the end. So
diamond mining.
And what I like too is despite if you put it aside, the incident that happened last year with mostly our defensive players there that had to get removed from the team after that happened, and you put that aside, I mean, for the most part, UCF attracts not only quality football players and does that diamond mining, but we attract good students. I mean, we're always tops in the country academically as an athletic department, and we attract good people as well. People with, good, strong families they stay out of trouble and they are good representatives for the university. And that's, for me, that just makes me even more proud as an alumni, and as a huge fan, just that we're winning, we're putting out good quality players professionally, but good quality people as well. And so that's another thing to be proud of as a fan of UCF. Yeah, academics have always been a big thing with UCF and their football program. Richie Grant, his freshman year, when he didn't even play, was on the all academic, American team. So, and I think that he was probably on that a couple other times as well. There's a lot to look through here with his stuff, but just an incredible player. And I know we've spent a lot of time talking about him. Maybe we can talk about some of the other guys. We only have a few minutes here, but Aaron Robinson, talk about him just a little bit. Roger, I think, well, both of you guys are probably a little bit bigger of a fan of him than I am. I'm a fan of his, just not one of my absolute favorite players, but I think you guys like him a little bit better. We got a minute.
Well, for me, I actually got to meet him. But the big thing about Aaron Robinson, remember, he had that injury. He was a transfer from Alabama. But again, he was one of those guys that made his name in a niche, which was the nickel. And if you're playing nickel in the NFL, you're going to get some looks because the NFL plays a lot of nickel. I was very happy for him that he even picked at the 3rd round. There was a lot of questions going into it, but he had a great pro day, so he got a pro day bump as well. Super proud of him. He plays really hard-nosed football. So anytime you see that, you want to see guys succeed.
Absolutely. Ben, real quick.
Yeah, just real quick, I was going to say his size and speed, I think, and then his tape, his hard-hitting ability really propelled him, and I'm happy that he was able to get drafted in an early round there, being 71st overall.
Absolutely. Kind of a ball hawk as well. He can get under it for sure. It'll be interesting to see what he does with the New York Giants. The Giants haven't been the greatest. All right, out of here. We'll be right back on Knightline at Night. Hey, Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain, or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
And now, back to Nightline at Night on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Call now at 844-580-9326.
All right, back on Nightline at Night. I'm Andrew Phegley, live from the Dever Team Studios, brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Got Big Ben Stout with me and Roger Phipps. This has been kind of a weird show. We've been talking the NFL draft pretty much the entire time, and the players that went from UCF into the NFL. We got to do our Tijuana Flats hot take of the week. Do you guys have one of those?
I do.
This week? Ben, you got something?
I can come up with one. Let me go last this week. I can come up with one really quick.
Okay, Roger, here we go. We're going to do it. This is the Tijuana Flats hot take of the week. Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone.
All right, folks. This week, in honor of the number 8 UCF women's tennis back-to-back undefeated championship, I'm going to go with UCF women's tennis will make it to the semifinal of the NCAA championships this year. They are seeded number 9 and playing at home.
All right, and I'm going to go with the men's soccer team. I think the men's soccer team is going to make it to the Final Four of the NCAA soccer tournament. And I know that that's thinking and dreaming big, but I think they can do it. They're well on their way. Ben?
I'm gonna complete the trifecta of great teams on the sports that we don't normally talk about, and I'll say men's tennis is going to make the championship game or the championship match, because they are quite impressive this year. They've got a couple of All-American players. I think they got a chance of making the championship game. I'm not quite going to say the national championship, but I'm hoping so.
All right.
Ooh.
Hey, so earlier I was talking about a graphic that I was looking for that I saw on Twitter, and this is what it is. More players drafted in UCF had more players drafted in 2021 than 100% of AAC teams, 80% of Big 12 teams, 79% of Big 10 teams, 79% of ACC teams, 75% of Pac-12 teams, and 57% of FCC teams.
Wow.
With 5 draft picks. So if you think about that, we're up there with those guys, you know? I mean, it's coming.
Yeah, so what that really
Go ahead.
I was going to say what that really shows you is that there's SEC had the most players in the draft from a conference at 65 players in the draft. You can compare that to the American with 19 players drafted. But what that shows you is that all of these conferences, yes, a lot of those players came from 2 or 3 schools, right? So, and that's no different than other conferences. But certainly that shows you that UCF is not only tops in our conference, but tops in the right up there with the top teams in the country. And then just to even compare it to the other quote unquote group of 5 conferences, I mean, Conference USA had 5 players drafted overall, the entire conference. MAC had 4. Mountain West had 3, Sun Belt had 3. I mean, these are whole conferences, and UCF had more players drafted with 5. So
I will say real quickly that the FCS had one of number 2 or number 3, I believe, the quarterback from North Dakota State.
That's right.
Impressive.
Yeah, he was. Yep,
That's
number 3 overall. Yep.
Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of FCS football. So if you're looking for some football this weekend, that is on. Out there. All right, we got to go. We'll be back next week. Nightline at Night. Go Knights.
Charge on.
Charge on.